This is John Musgrave. Thank you for coming to the podcast. If you like this content or this episode, please click like or even subscribe or hit that thumbs up button on your screen, and that'll help more people find us. Thanks for listening. That I said we need to get to these things. They're not things that are spelled out in one particular passage, but through the book of John, something that John is showing the Jewish believers in Jesus to whom he was writing probably around AD 90. Things they were picking up that are important for us to see, that grow us in our understanding of who Jesus is and what he has done for us. So this morning we look at how Jesus is a fulfillment of the Ark of the Covenant. Last week I mentioned to you that Jesus is the fulfillment of the temple, and we saw here in this passage in John chapter 2 that Jesus spoke of himself as the temple. The temple he spoke of was his body. So he said, destroy this temple and I'll raise it up in 3 days. You can look in, if you like to fill up blanks in an outline, you can look in your worship guide there, your introduction. Christianity with Jesus is not a departure from Old Testament religion, but the fulfillment of it. So you as a Christian are to know, as these Jewish believers were to know, they had not departed from the religion of their childhood, the religion that followed the God who had created all things and saved Noah and called Abraham to himself and given Moses the law and provided his people with David and his sons as a king. But they were continuing in the faith. And their brother Jews who had rejected Jesus had departed from it, had cut themselves off from it. And so you can know as a Christian as well, you're not a separate thing from what God was doing in Old Testament times. You're participating in the fulfillment of that, what God was leading up to in the Old Testament. That is, Jesus is the reality of all that was foreshadowed. A number of you were in the Hermeneutics class, that's interpretation. That's the fun word for interpretation, hermeneutics. Like Hermes, the Greek god, he was the messenger god, same root, hermeneutics. Some of you who are in that class know that there's a category that we study in theology known as biblical theology. And that's what we're doing here. Biblical theology is not theology derived from the Bible. All our theology hopefully is derived from the Bible. Biblical theology is a category of theology where you look at how a theme progresses from Adam to the book of Revelation. So we're doing that all the time, every week. You just don't know that. We do it in Sunday school. It's what we're not mortar shelling. We're doing biblical theology. We're seeing how God presents this truth here and here as he goes through the timeline of the Old Testament and gets to Jesus and how he fulfills it in Jesus' life on earth, how he fulfills it in Jesus reigning over us from heaven today in this age, and how Jesus will fulfill it in the consummation of the kingdom. That's all biblical theology. So if you want to impress your friends, say, we talked about biblical theology today. But that's what we're doing, and that's what John is doing here. He's showing how these themes from the Old Testament, in particular the theme of the Ark of the Covenant, what was that really? Why was that there? Is that something just that was a physical thing to be venerated, to be kept? Should we really care whether it's in a Nazi warehouse or not? You fans of Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's the Ark of the Covenant. It's that Ark there. But we're seeing that that's all there, and all those things in the Old Testament, everything we see in the Old Testament. Why it's important to read the Old Testament is not because it gives us facts to do well on Christian Jeopardy, right? That's how lots of Christianity treats the Old Testament. Give me all the facts so I do well on Christian Jeopardy. I can answer all the questions. Oh, and once in a while it gives me a prediction about Jesus. Woo! That's not the Old Testament. The Old Testament is giving us a picture of who Jesus is and what he does for us. All that stuff is there. All the battles, all the furniture in the temple, the flood and Noah and the serpent in the garden. It's all showing us stuff that Jesus does for us. It's all prediction about Jesus, if you want to look at it that way. But it's all God orchestrating sovereignly history, so we have categories to understand his Son. So we have categories to understand salvation.